I call this meeting to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For everybody's information, Councillor Cano's on the phone with us. She's driving in and should actually be here sometime during the meeting, but she is at this moment present via the phone.
Hello.
Hi, Councillor. First item on the agenda is public input. I remind everybody you have 5 minutes to speak. I will keep track of that, and of course, because of the phone, we have the podium up here, so come join us up here at the council. And first one on the list is Alan Mong in relation to July 4th parade.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, councilors. Hello, Lupe. Oh, it's not pressed. Okay. Hello, councilors. Hello, Mayor. Hello, Lupe. Councilor Ray and at the time Councilor Maronis and Councilor Bedison were here last year when I came up to speak in front of Mayor Marshall after the July 4th parade regarding bullying and harassment that went on. The Parents and Friends of Lesbian and Gays float, which included families and little kids, somehow when they made the turn by Golf Park, this group kind of snuck in behind them. There were no parade marshals, there were no monitors, and these people had a megaphone blasting all kinds of things, being saved. I'm not going to go into all the things they said, but some of the little kids that were marching with PFLAG were crying. It was intimidating, and a lot of people on the street watching it were really disgusted by it. And I bring this up again this year because I know Mayor Marshall was very upset about it last year, just to remind who I don't know who's putting on the parade, whether it's Grant County Chamber of Commerce, to make sure they have, I mean, technically, usually in most parades, even small town parades, there's somebody walking with a unit or a float, and there wasn't before, because this should not happen. If there were monitors and marshals with them, they're not going to allow somebody to sneak in. So I just want to bring it up again this next year now, because I won't be here next week for the meeting, and then the next one will be after the 4th of parade. But, you know, that's not something that should happen in Silver City. You may not agree with the group or beliefs, whatever, but you're not going to blast out on a megaphone, a loudspeaker, amplified, and try to harass people and intimidate people. And it's not fair to the people on the street that are watching the parade. That's a fun day, and something like that is not fun. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Next is Larry McLeod with for Noise Revisited.
Good evening. My name is Larry McLeod. I've been here before. This is the 4th time in the past year that I've come to speak on this issue. Loud, annoying vehicles continue to make residents suffer in this town. There are a number of vehicles violating the town noise ordinances. Some of you might recall a petition that we handed in last year of over 200 names of people asking that the noise ordinance be enforced. According to the court records, which I just got today, 42 citations have been issued in the last 6 months under the noise ordinance. This is an increase over the prior 22 months, which I gave the number about 6 months ago, that showed there were 47 citations given in 22 months. So that's more than double the number of ordinances have been issued. Unfortunately, the noise issue continues to degrade the quality of life in Silver City. A slight improvement on Bullard Street may be more attributed to the closing of the Buffalo Bar than increased enforcement. Vehicle noise and speed are related. If speed limits were strictly enforced, then the noise problem would be lessened. So, in many ways, we would really appreciate it if, in fact, the speed limits were enforced strictly. I strongly ask the Town Council to continue to address this problem and help increase the quality of life in Silver City for us all. So please don't give up on this issue, and please be aware that a lot of people are concerned about this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nancy Gordon for Waterworks.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilors. I'm Nancy Gordon. I've been working on restoration of the Waterworks building for about 4 years now, and I'm glad to see that it was given a high priority on the ICIP. I hope that will lead to future funding. I wanted to give you a little update on our project. The professional mason is just about finished with the repointing of the east gable, and Waterworks volunteers will work on the lower areas from there. We're also going to do a little work in the front entry room to get it ready for a historic replastering workshop that the museum is sponsoring in July. But we've been having a lot of trouble getting the EPA cleanup grant project off the ground with all the hoops that we have to jump through that keep moving. 2 project managers from EPA in Dallas did come down to Silver City to talk to us, and we have a little bit better idea of how to proceed. Bud Mullaney, the project manager, went to the QA/QC training that's required, but we haven't accomplished too much else in 6 months. In fact, the EPA rejected our analysis of brownfields cleanup alternatives, the ABCA that we presented to the council back in March, so we'll have to hold another public meeting with the proper legal notice. We've discussed holding an open house this time. The reason they rejected our ABCA was because we didn't clearly specify an end use, like whether it would be residential or commercial. There's a lot of confusion on the regulations about lead and asbestos, and in fact, we've just applied for another grant to hold a workshop in Silver City on the topic. EPA wouldn't let us use the grant for that training. The Waterworks is town property, and I really feel that the town should decide what it should become, whether that's a nature center or a living museum or the CDT gateway or a workspace for the town departments. Right now it's technically a utilities department facility, and they still store things in the shop out back. Mayor Marshall once suggested that the council have a work session on the Waterworks, but that never came about, and I hope that the council now will take that on. The building also got broken into and burgled over the Memorial Day weekend. Just as a suggestion, I'd like to throw out the idea of putting a mobile home on the property and letting someone live there as a caretaker. They could possibly also take care of the botanical gardens. The Waterworks property is zoned residential B. There's water, sewer, and electricity on site. That's just something to think about, but I'd really appreciate some direction from the council.
Thank you, Nancy. And the last person for public input is Susie Seidentop, also addressing noise.
Hi. Thank you, Council and Mayor, and kudos to Nancy for taking that project on and sticking with it. Okay.
So that the audience can hear as well.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. At a council meeting in May, 2 poets spoke. I was very moved by Elisa's poem about the beauty and tranquility of the Gila wilderness, the gem in our backyard. We are so fortunate that we can escape to that peace and quiet, but we should not have to escape to the wilderness to have quiet. We have the right to the healthy and peaceable enjoyment of our own properties, and this is even stated in the city mission statement. I would like to encourage the council and police to work towards quiet zones until all of Silver City is a quiet zone, and then we won't have to hear remarks from visitors and residents that Silver City is the noisiest town they have ever been to. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is council comments. Councilor Bedison.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few comments. I just wanted to let folks know that at the end of May, I attended an advanced Municipal Official Leadership Institute. It's one of the things that I'd said that I would do when I was running for office, so that I would ensure that I kept up to date on all of the different ins and outs of being a town councilor and making sure I'm the most effective councilor I can be. And it was an excellent workshop, actually attended by 23 individuals across the state of New Mexico that are all in the advanced courses because they're Molly graduates. And I know that 2 of our counselors are going to be starting that. And I know that the other folks on the council are hopefully going to continue on and complete as well. I also attended this past week New Mexico Municipal League Board of Directors meeting. I'm on the board currently as a director at large, and some of the issues I just wanted to bring forth to everyone that we discussed is something that we've even mentioned here at our own town council meetings, which is NMFA and DFA's delays in obtaining agreements, especially for colonial infrastructure projects. And I know that this is actually going to be a subject or a topic today that we'll be talking about regarding something else. We're not the only community facing these delays in obtaining agreements. A colleague of mine from the eastern side of the state, he actually has yet to receive an agreement for about $900,000 that he was granted last year at the same time we were. So they want to know how we got ours so quickly since we received it in May, the agreement. We also discussed the hold harmless issues, the fact that something that's been discussed here as well, simply because of the impact it's going to cause to our bottom line at the town. And so I would probably wait and discuss further what the league is going to suggest and what we plan to do to somehow mitigate the issues of the hold harmless. We don't know if it's going to pass the legislature this year, but I think that there's a new awakening in our current governance structure, that what they've done is they've actually increased taxes, even though the governor says that she didn't. Her staff are realizing that they rolled it down to the municipalities, and so there is an increase there. So there'll be more discussion about that. 2 other things. First, plastic bags. The NOI for the reduction of single-use plastic bags. I want to thank individuals who have contacted me. Please continue to contact me. Right now it's projected to be, rather than on the last meeting in June, it'll be at the first meeting in July for consideration when the entire council is present, because I know that Councilor Raymond Smith will not be in town at our next council meeting. Do you want to try calling her back?
We'll try in a second.
Okay. And last but certainly not least is the water rate structure. I've talked with some of the folks in town and received comments, and I spoke this morning with the town manager, with Mr. Brown, and we are hoping that after a month's worth of study, I believe, because the new straight rate structure is in place right now, that we may be able to adjust the tier system. And I'll let Mr. Brown explain a little bit further why we need to wait for that for a month in order to get the information to do what we want to do.
Well, the main reason is because June is the most, is the hottest and the month that we pump the most water and sell the most water. So I want to be able to compare the low users during the hottest time of the year and then use historical data to compare to see what, if any, changes we do bring forward to the council. But I will bring you some additional data over the next month or so, so that we can look to see whether we make changes or what we do. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I think the critical thing is that there's a concern that in our water conservation plan and in the study that was done to produce it, that we need to ensure that we are not penalizing those low-income individuals in our communities that also are generally the least, use the least number of gallons. So we'll be looking at potentially adjusting it depending on what comes out from the study. One of the most important things is that we have to ensure that that enterprise fund is essentially revenue neutral, meaning what comes in terms of use within the town is what's going to be paid out for everything from debt service to maintenance issues. We recently replaced a water line at, I think, the cost of $60,000, somewhere around there that Mr. Brown had said. So, and also in order to maintain the number of employees that are essential to ensuring that water service is delivered. So I think that a study might help us see whether or not we can adjust them slightly so we can accommodate for low-end water users, whereas those individuals that are high-end water users, the rate structure would actually encourage them to conserve under the Water Conservation Plan. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Amon Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have two things to say, but one is to echo what Councilor Bedison has already brought forth, which is that when you are dealing with a utility infrastructure, there are fixed costs, and those really have to be accounted for. Speaking as an old operations manager, perhaps I look at these things as a little different kind of way. And I personally, as a researcher, would like to see more than 1 month of data on a pilot study to go, but I'll defer to Mr. Brown's good judgment. The second thing that I want to say is that I'm getting, coming upon my first 100 days as a council member, and I had promised that after I had been in the office for about 3 months that I'd start really meeting with constituents and folks in District 2, and I really do plan to do that in December, and I'll figure out a way to touch base with y'all and get the news out there, because I really want to be engaged. That said, I want to say something about my style and demeanor, which I am a rational, logical, compassionate thinker, and I do not do well being bullied. So if you're going to come and yell at me, I might just say thank you for your time and walk away. So please meet me as a professional, and I will show you absolute listening and respect, and let's work together.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Ray.
No comment.
Councilor Cano should be here shortly, so I will make a couple comments before she gets here. First off, I'd like to announce that we'll be having a special meeting for lodger's tax on July 15th, 6 p.m. in this chambers, and we'll be going over hearing from the various applicants and the lodger's tax committee, and working on that and hopefully making some headway. On another note, we had the comment that if we look at the speed limits and enforce the speed limits, we might work on reducing noise. I believe that is very true, especially on Bullard Street. I don't know what the effects would be on Hudson, 90, 180, and such, just by the build of it, but I do see that with that echo effect that Bullard does have, if people stay inside that 15 mile per hour speed limit, that we should be able to decrease it. So I like that comment, and hopefully we can work on that and convince people, if maybe through enforcement, but hopefully by self-enforcement as well, that we just take note and work on trying to keep our speed down. Outside of that, does anybody need round two?
No, sir. No, sir.
With the fact that Councilor Kano should be here any minute,
Do you want a short break?
would you want to, Councilor Bedison?
Mr. Mayor, I move for a short break.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second.
We have a motion, a second for a short break, and hope that Councilor Kano gets here in a little bit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are in recess. Call this meeting back to order. We're still on council comments. I would like to make one more announcement, and that is we did change the next meeting to next week, the 17th, at 6 p.m. in these chambers as well, so that our next regular meeting will be on the 17th of June. Councilor Kano, any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being patient with me this evening. I just want everyone to know, a lot of you have seen me on crutches for the past 16 months. Today was my pre-op appointment, so hopefully you won't be on crutches soon. It was at 1 o'clock in Albuquerque. I did go the speed limit, Chief. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments?
No, sir.
Changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
No changes. Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Bedison.
I move to approve the town council minutes of the regular meeting held on May 27th, 2014, as presented this evening. There were some adjustments.
I'll second that, sir.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular meeting for May 27th, 2014, as presented to us today. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Staff reports. Mr. Brown?
I don't have any, but I think Tim wanted to do some clarification.
Good afternoon. There we go. I just wanted, in the last couple of weeks, attention to the drought and fire restrictions that we put in place the other day. On that line 6, we put some examples down there that included fireworks and sparklers. And after it was brought to my attention by our fire marshal, we had to sit down and rewrite that, because by adding the word fireworks and sparklers, we were going against the state statute. So we had to limit that. So everything's still stayed the same. We just changed the wording a little bit, took out the examples that we put in there. So number 6, the final wording there is any open burning that produces ash or smoldering material that is not specifically covered previously is prohibited. And we took out the examples. So I have a copy of this. If you guys want to see it, we got it with Miss Maggie. She went ahead and redistributed that, and we'll get them out to our vendors and stuff when they start setting up. That's all I have.
Councilor Bedison.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Chief, I guess for me, I think it's really important that folks understand that open burning really means being out there and striking a match or flicking your lighter. If that's being used to ignite anything from a cigarette to, yes, I mean, we can talk about it. It's not in there. Fireworks. That's open burning.
That is open burning.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's
Open flame.
Open flame, and so those things do produce ash, and that's what we're talking about. It's just because the examples have been removed so that we're not contrary to state statute, doesn't mean that that's not what's applicable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, just because we took the wording out, the examples, doesn't mean that we can't enforce the lighting, anything that produces ash or hot smoldering material, which are fireworks.
Great. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you.
Any other questions, Richard? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other staff reports? Peter? Chief? I believe that's everybody. Moving on, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing entitled Approval Disapproval of a Request for a Final Plat Approval to Allow a Manufactured Home Park to be created at 2180 32nd Street Bypass. The applicant and property owner is Dwayne Rigg of Rigg Properties LLC. The town council will serve as the hearing board, and I, as mayor, will be the presiding officer. Have any members of this hearing board had ex parte discussions with any person regarding the subject matter of this hearing, or had any communications from any party to this case?
No, sir.
You are all qualified. Will all parties and witnesses intending to testify, including those staff members who intend to present testimony or who will be available for questioning, please rise and come to the podium to be sworn in by the town clerk. If you have not been sworn in, you will not be permitted to testify or otherwise participate in this hearing.
Please raise your right hand. Come forward. She's here now. And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Peter Russell,
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
do solemnly swear or affirm
That the testimony I am about to give.
that the testimony I am about to give
In the matter before this council.
in the matter before this council
Is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
Under penalty of perjury.
under penalty of perjury.
Thank you.
The hearing will be conducted as follows. The town staff shall present a brief synopsis of the application based on the application or actions taken by the director, by P&Z's commission, or by town staff. Then the applicant shall present their case. Next will come witnesses in support of applicant's case. The applicant, staff, or witnesses may then be questioned by the hearing board. The presiding officer will then ask the applicant if that concludes his case in chief and states that the proponent and its witnesses will remain available to be further questioned by the hearing board, by staff, or by opponents to the application. Following the close of the applicant's case, witnesses in opposition to the applicant's case shall be permitted to testify, during the course of which the witness may address questions to any previous witness, but such questions shall be made through the presiding officer. The presiding officer shall have the sole discretion in directing the question for response, considering whether the question is relevant, is cumulative to other testimony, or is otherwise inappropriate. At the close of testimony against the application, the presiding officer asks the applicant, is there anything else you wish to be reflected in the record? At this time, would town staff please present your brief synopsis?
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. You've all received the presentation before the meeting so that Councilor Cano could participate. If you would like, I can skip to the photos, and this meeting is more to finalize the plat. No changes have been made, as you've noticed in your packet, and so if you have any questions or if there's a photo that you would like to see, because you're familiar with the project, we can move ahead to that. There have been no changes, and no community members or property owners have contacted our office after they've received another letter for this meeting. So we've had no phone calls or contact. So I'll open it up for questions for you, and I'll also, the slide that I will show you is the approval criteria for the final plat, and that is the last slide on your handout. The town council shall approve the final plat if it determines that the final plat is in substantial conformance to the approved preliminary plat and to any conditions of approval attached to the preliminary plat. And also in your packet, you received the notice of decision from your previous meeting, and you've also had access to the Planning and Zoning Commission's notice of decision. So if there's a photo that you would like to see or any questions you have about the plat, I would be glad to answer them. Otherwise, we could probably let the applicant present their case.
I do have one question. If I remember correctly, and I have to be honest, I did not go back and look because I didn't want to see what was said earlier, but is there a stop sign at that intersection for the egress from the park currently? Because I'm having a hard time seeing it in the photo.
And Mrs. Weber also brought the plat on a larger format so that you may look at that also.
There is a stop sign, or there will be a
There
stop
will
sign?
be, yes.
That's what I remember. I just didn't see it on the, I looked through everything.
And light at the intersection also.
That I see on here. I just couldn't find the notation of the stop sign, even though I looked, and it just could be because I looked through it too quickly.
Yeah, and she brought a larger display so that you may see it closer up.
That's my only question, Mayor. Thank you.
Questions of staff? Everybody satisfied with the presentation that's in the record? Mr. Riggs, please present your case. Please. Little different.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and councilors. I have been nominated to speak. This is the same drawing we brought last time, so nothing design-wise has changed, except that we did include a couple of things that you had asked about last time. We did include a sign or two signs in the park for no parking on the street or sidewalk, and that's on sheet 6-1 in the plan set. And then that's where the stop sign is noted, also on sheet 6-1. We did also include provision for 2 additional lights in the park if it looks like they need it after if it's just, if they need more lighting in the park. We just put on the electrical plan to run additional conduit and make provision for those additional lights. So we did add that. Oh, there was a little bit of an easement that Mr. Scavron had noted last time that was just missing on the hatching, and that's been included this time around too on the final plat. You'll see that that's on there on the actual plat that the city and the utility providers will sign. So there haven't been any other changes other than those small items that we had discussed last time.
Any questions?
Just thank you. I guess it was stuck.
Thank you. Any witnesses in support of applicant's case? Any questions from the hearing board?
No, sir.
Mr. Rigg, does this conclude your case in chief?
Yes, sir.
Please remain available to be further questioned by the hearing board, staff, or by opponents to the application. If you wouldn't mind, you could actually probably turn that towards the public for the duration. Any witnesses in opposition to this case? I apologize, Mr. Rigg. Is there anything else you wish to be reflected in the record? You should. And when you're done, would you mind turning off the...
No, sir.
Thank you. Does any member of the hearing board have any questions for any witness?
No, sir. No, sir.
Is the hearing board prepared to consider this application and render its decision?
Yes, sir.
How does the hearing board decide? Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve of a request for a final plat approval SD 14-01 to allow a manufactured home park to be created at 2180 32nd Street Bypass. The applicant and property owner is Dwayne Rigg of Rigg Properties, LLC.
Yes, this part.
Councilor Ray, does it meet the approval criteria?
There was...
If you wouldn't mind adding that to your motion.
Okay. With the final plat approval criteria, the town council shall approve the final plat if it determines that the final plat is in substantial conformance to the approved preliminary plat and any conditions of approval attached to the preliminary plat.
It is in conformance. That's what you have to say.
You do believe it is in conformance?
It is.
Yes.
I do believe it.
Councilor Bedison?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion, and with the inclusion that is in substantial conformance to the approved preliminary plat and any conditions of approval attached to the preliminary plat.
We have a motion and a second for approval of a request for final plat approval number SD 14-01 to allow a manufactured home park to be created at 2180 32nd Street Bypass. The applicant and property owner is Dwayne Rigg of Rigg Properties, LLC, and it is in substantial conformance to the approved preliminary plat and any conditions of the approval attached to that, to the preliminary plat. Is there any further discussion?
No, sir. No, sir.
Roll call.
Counselor Kano?
Aye.
Counselor Ray?
Aye.
Counselor Amon Smith?
Aye.
Counselor Bedison?
Aye.
Motion carries. This public hearing is concluded. Next item on the agenda, under unfinished business, approval, disapproval of ordinance number 1228, authorizing the issuance of the Town of Silver City, New Mexico Gross Receipts Tax Improvement Revenue Note Series 2014 in two series in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $1,500,000 for the purpose to finance acquisition and construction of certain capital improvements for the benefit of the town and its residents, including but not limited to public safety equipment and public recreation facilities, and to pay cost of issuance of the Series 2014 notes. Councilor?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Chris Muirhead with the Modrell Sperling firm. This is the second time that this ordinance has been in front of you, so this is the second reading of it. Let me just quickly kind of recap what we're trying to accomplish with this ordinance. In the process of issuing debt, the town needs to authorize that debt through an ordinance. It's been properly noticed, and this has been. It was noticed for the original meeting date, and then it was re-noticed for the amended meeting date. It sets a maximum amount of the bonds at $1,500,000. I think that the projects are more closer to $1 million. The final terms of the financing will be at a sale resolution. I think that's going to fall in your first meeting in July. At that point, you'll know exactly what the par amount is, what the interest rates are, what the annual debt service is, and all the terms for the financing so that you can make an informed decision. This does authorize the issuance of bonds subject to that final sale resolution and starts a 30-day comment period if anyone in the community has any concerns about that. The pledge, again, the important part here is it does not add any new taxes. It does not increase any taxes. It pledges the state shared gross receipts tax, which the town receives from the state under the 5% state gross receipts tax. They get a 1.225%. The town does distribution. This would be the third debt that has a lien on that revenue source. There's a 2011 and 2012 bonds. The ordinance sets forth various covenants, none of which is different or are different than the debt that's outstanding. So it is consistent with your other debt that's outstanding. You will have one final chance to review and approve this debt at your July meeting when George K. Baum, and today I have John Archuleta with me, who is Mark Valenzuela's partner. He's happy to answer any questions. Really where they're going to come into play is at the next meeting where they lay out the terms. I think the plan is to seek purchasers from local banks or regional banks and to give you the best terms and keep it in the community. Again, very advantageous lending or borrowing terms at this point, so we're optimistic they'll be very favorable terms to the community. I'm happy to answer any legal questions you might have about this, and I'm sure Mr. Archuleta is happy to answer any questions you might have about how it'll be marketed and what they're kind of looking at this point.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to let you know that I've been working with Mark, and he emailed me last week the entities that he's sent out the notice to to look at the debt, the different banks in the region. Also, I did want to tell you that I'm looking at adding one project to this debt, and it would be the liner at the swimming pool. It's about $110,000. It doesn't make a big difference over the 10-year period. And as I told you at the last council meeting, we are paying off 3 different loans, as well as the refinance portion. I think it's 2011B or A, one of them. One of them was a refinance, and that is being paid off, actually was paid off last week. So, and that portion, that debt was $200,000 a year. This is estimated to be about $180,000, what we're looking at. So we're looking at keeping our debt service levels at the same at all times, so we don't overextend ourselves. And so.
Any questions? Councilor Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, this is for Mr. Brown. What is our current debt service level?
It's $1.2 million. It's $1.267 million.
So this would just
actually, I figured the debt service payment last year it was $1.283 million. So it's real close to what it was last year.
Okay, so thank you. And then just a quick question for you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, I guess, if I remember correctly, one of the things that we'll see on the SARE resolution is the fact that things that don't last as long will be paid off earlier than those items that are, let's say, more stable, like buildings, things like that.
Mayor, Councilor Bedison, that's correct. The Internal Revenue Code requires for the tax-exempt portion, and really just good management requires for any reason, that your debt is going to tie to the useful life of the project, of what you're buying. So police cars, if you're getting public safety equipment, things like that, they are on the shorter end, 3 to 4 years. Capital improvements, that pool lining probably is the 10-year range. This is going to be a 10-year term, and what you look at is what the weighted average maturity of that debt is, which is going to be in the 6 to 7 year range. But yes, certainly the projects will be tied for the amortization of the debt. That is correct.
Thank you for saying it in a much better way than I did. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Brown, you mentioned adding a new project. Just for the audience and just as a reminder, what are the projects that we're looking at currently?
The concession stand bathrooms at the sports complex, the clubhouse at the golf course, the ambulances, police vehicles, and the liner. Now, the liner's added in there. I don't think I missed anything. That's it.
Councilor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor. Before I move to approve, I just want to reiterate what was already stated. This is not a new tax. It is well within our ability to pay for this using the state shared gross receipts tax that we currently have that's from the state. So we are not going to be issuing bonds that increase the tax rate on our citizens.
That is correct.
And with that, I move to approve ordinance number 1228, authorizing the issuance of the Town of Silver City, New Mexico Gross Receipts Tax Improvement Revenue Notes, Series 2014, in 2 series, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $1,500,000 for the purpose to, 1, finance acquisition and construction of certain capital improvements for the benefit of the town and its residents, including but not limited to public safety equipment and public recreation facilities, and 2, pay costs of issuance of the Series 2014 notes, providing that the Series 2014 notes will be payable and collectible from and secured by a pledge of, 1, the gross receipts tax distributed to the town pursuant to Section 7-1-6.4 NMSA 1978 as amended, the state shared gross receipts tax, providing for the disposition of the receipts derived from said tax proceeds, providing that certain terms of the notes will be provided in subsequent resolution, prescribing other details concerning the notes and tax proceeds, including but not limited to covenants and agreements in connection therewith, and the form, terms, conditions, and manner of execution of the notes, ratifying all action previously taken in connection therewith, and repealing ordinances in conflict herewith.
I will second the motion as stated.
We have a motion and a second as read into the record. Any further discussion by the council?
No, sir.
Would anybody in the public want to make any comment? Did you have anything to add, Mr. Brown? We have a motion and a second with no further discussion. As read into the record, everybody understands what they're voting on?
Yes, sir.
Roll call.
Counselor Bedison?
Aye.
Counselor Amon Smith?
Aye.
Counselor Ray?
Aye.
Counselor Kano?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Sam.
Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of ordinance number 1229, an ordinance amending town ordinance number 722 that was passed, adopted, and approved by the governing body of the town of Silver City, New Mexico on August 30th, 1984, relating to the imposition of fourth increment of municipal gross receipts tax. Mr. Brown.
Mayor, Council, this is the final reading of the ordinance to rededicate a 1/8 of the 1/4% that was imposed back in 1984. Originally, that 1/4% was dedicated to the water sewer fund. In 2011, we moved 1/8 of it out to pay the 2011 bonds. Now we're proposing to move the remaining 1/8 that is subsidizing water rates out to 1/16 to the general fund and 1/16 to the street maintenance fund. That was proposed to you in the budget.
Any questions? Can I have a motion? Councilor Bedson?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 1229, an ordinance amending town ordinance number 722 that was passed, adopted, and approved by the governing body of the town of Silver City, New Mexico on August 30th, 1984, relating to the imposition of fourth increment of municipal gross receipts tax.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance number 1229, an ordinance amending town ordinance number 722 that was passed, adopted, and approved by the governing body of the town of Silver City, New Mexico on August 30th, 1984, relating to the imposition of fourth increment of municipal gross receipts tax. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Just a comment. This is a tax that has been part of our body of gross receipts tax that everybody pays in our town to do retail or service businesses. And it's been there for quite a while, obviously, since 1984. One could argue with it that we are creating a new tax just by moving this forward, but in all reality, it's what we've been budgeted for, it's what we've been paying for a couple decades now, and it's just something that it's there. We're accustomed to it, and now we're just moving it into more practical areas to meet our needs, especially in light of some of the comments that Councilor Bedison made earlier with the hold harmless issues that we have. Any further discussion from that?
I do have one comment.
Councilor Amon Smith.
And once again, I want to emphasize how important improvement of our roads are. Yes. So thank you. I appreciate this moving this long, almost 30-year small increment gross receipts tax into road repair.
Yeah, great comment. It has been noted that our collections on gas tax, which has historically been used to repair our roads, has been dropping. The gas tax as it currently stands is based on the gallons purchased, not by the dollar of purchases. So even as gas rates have inflated, the gallons used has not. So we've had a dwindling fund in our roads. So this is a way to actually move towards meeting those obligations. That being said, we have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance number 1229, an ordinance amending town ordinance number 722 that was passed, adopted, and approved by the governing body of the town of Silver City, New Mexico on August 30th, 1984, relating to the imposition of fourth increment of municipal gross receipts tax. Roll call.
Councilor Benison?
Aye.
Councilor Amon Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Kano?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of ordinance number 1230, an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 2, Economic Development Plan, Sections 16-21, 16-68, 16-69, and 16-72 of the Town of Silver City Code of Ordinances. And I'm the sponsor on this, so please bear with me while I find that on my computer. And this is what we're doing is we're updating our economic development plan. This plan was put in place about a decade ago based on state statute, and at the time we mirrored what that state statute wanted us to put in. Well, in recent history, over the last few years, the state has adopted arts and cultural district items into their LEDA ordinance and their LEDA laws, and what we're merely doing is trying to match that and open up our toolbox to more vehicles to allow for better development. Historically, when we had these type of LEDA funds, we had to prove job growth with numbers, and it was much more difficult to do so. Now there's a little bit more flexibility put in there as the state has recognized that arts and cultural facilities and activities do stimulate the economy, even though it's very difficult to find an exact number of job growth. So they've made, to the state statute, they've added a little flexibility to help us move forward, and we want to match that. Any other questions or comments?
Sir?
Any comments from staff on this ordinance? Councilor Bettison?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Bettison.
I move to approve ordinance number 1230, an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 2, Economic Development Plan, Sections 16-21, 16-68, 16-69, and 16-72 of the Town of Silver City Code of Ordinances.
Councilor Amy Smith.
I second the motion as stated.
We have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance number 1230, an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 2, Economic Development Plan, Sections 16-21, 16-68, 16-69, and 16-72 of the Town of Silver City Code of Ordinances. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Any comments from the public on this? That being none, we have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance number 1230, an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 2, Economic Development Plans, Sections 16-21, 16-68, 16-69, and 16-72 of the Town of Silver City Code of Ordinances. Roll call.
Councilor Bettison?
Aye.
Councilor Amon Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Kano?
Aye.
Motion carries. Everybody doing good? Councilor Bedison?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I move for another short break.
Short.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and second for a short recess. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are in recess. Back to order. And next item on the agenda is under new business is approval, disapproval of a special dispenser permit application and waiver of NMSA 1978-60-6B-10 of the prohibition of dispensing of alcoholic beverages within 300 feet of a church or school. Event information, Clay Poker Tournament fundraiser at 315 North Texas Street on July 26, 2014, from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sponsor of the event, Silver City Arts and Cultural District. License holder, Snappy Mart, number 4. Owner name, WNN Enterprises, Inc., 206 North Hudson Street, Silver City, New Mexico. License number 0151. Lee?
Hello, Mr. Mayor, councilors, town staff, thank you for letting me be here. I'm seeking approval of special dispenser permit application for the fundraiser, the poker tournament fundraiser at the Clay Festival this year. And I'm seeking, so we're doing one at a time. Okay, I was going to try to slip that next one in there. Okay. Yes. Do you have any questions of me? Nothing has changed from last year when we were approved. I'm hoping we can do the same.
Any questions?
No, sir. No, sir.
I'm glad you got the waiver.
Yes, me too.
We want to see you up here again the next time around.
Okay. Oh, so I sit down now and come back? Okay. Okay.
Can I entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Ray. It's on.
I move to approve of a special dispenser permit application and waiver of NMSA 1978-60-6B-10 of the prohibition of dispensing of alcoholic beverages within 300 feet of a church or school. Event information, Clay Poker Tournament fundraiser at 315 North Texas Street on July 26, 2014, from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sponsor event, Silver City Arts and Cultural District. License holder, Snappy Mart, number 4. Owner name, WNN Enterprises, Inc., 206 North Hudson Street, Silver City, New Mexico. License number 0151.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
We have a motion and a second for approval of special dispenser permit application and waiver of NMSA 1978-60-6B-10 of the prohibition of dispensing of alcoholic beverages within 300 feet of a church or school. Event information, Clay Poker Tournament fundraiser at 315 North Texas Street on July 26, 2014, from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sponsor of the event, Silver City Arts and Cultural District. License holder, Snappy Mart, number 4. Owner name, WNN Enterprises, Inc., 206 North Hudson Street, Silver City, New Mexico. License number 0151. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
We have a motion and a second as read into the record. We don't need a roll call. Or
No, but I do have, you can indicate that the record that there is a letter, a waiver letter in the package. And that's the basis that you're granting the waiver, is because you have the letters.
yes, sir. We, for the record, there was a letter received from St. Vincent de Paul that they did grant that waiver, that we are granting the waiver for.
Can we read it?
No, we don't need to read it. It's in the record. Any further discussion?
No, sir. No, sir.
Any other comments from staff? We have a motion and a second as read into the record. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of a special dispenser permit application and waiver of NMSA 1978 60-6B-10 of the prohibition of dispensing of alcoholic beverages within 300 feet of a church or school. Event information, Clay Gala fundraiser at 101 North Cooper Street on July 31st, 2014 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sponsor of the event, Silver City Arts and Cultural District. License holder, Snappy Mart number 4. Owner name, WNN Enterprises, Inc., 206 North Hudson Street, Silver City, New Mexico. License number 0151. Ms. Cooper?
Yes, this is the gala event, another fundraiser that we do as part of the Clay Festival, and we're requesting approval of the special dispenser permit.
Did you also get a
Yes,
waiver letter?
we did get a waiver letter from the El Grito Head Start school.
Everybody sees that in the record?
Yes.
Any questions?
No, sir.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Ray?
I move to approve of a special dispenser permit application and waiver of NMSA 1978 60-6B-10 of the prohibition of dispensing of alcoholic beverages within 300 feet of a church or school. Event information, Clay Gala fundraiser at 101 North Cooper Street on July 31st, 2014 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sponsor of the event, Silver City Arts and Cultural District. License holder, Snappy Mart number 4. Owner's name, WNN Enterprises, Inc., 206 North Hudson Street, Silver City, New Mexico. License number 0151.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of a special dispenser permit application and waiver of NMSA 1978 60-6B-10 of the prohibition of dispensing of alcoholic beverages within 300 feet of a church or school. Event information, Clay Gala fundraiser at 101 North Cooper Street on July 31st, 2014 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sponsor of event, Silver City Arts and Cultural District. License holder, Snappy Mart number 4. Owner name, WNN Enterprises, Inc., 206 North Hudson Street, Silver City, New Mexico. License number 0151. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Anything from staff? We have a motion and a second, as read into the record. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And I'll come back on another meeting when it's not so long and tell you about the Clay Festival.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution number 2014-20, a resolution adopting the 2016 to 2020 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, ICIP. Jamie?
I'm going to allow Jamie to go ahead and present it because she did most of the work on it. Actually, all the work on it. So. Thank you, Mr.
Good evening again, Mayor and Councilors. This is the resolution that approves the 2016 to 2020 ICIP. And for the audience and for the council, I have the definition that was included this year from the Department of Finance Administration from the state, which is the state entity that administers the ICIP. It's a local infrastructure capital improvement plan, is a plan that establishes planning priorities for anticipated capital projects. The need for this kind of planning has reached critical proportions in New Mexico, where local governments are faced with pressing demands for multiple capital improvements and limited funding to support them. The state-coordinated local ICIP process encourages entities to plan for the development of capital improvements so that they do not find themselves in emergency situations, but can plan for, fund, and develop infrastructure at a pace that sustains their activities. As public input and Mayor Marshall last year suggested we change the format for the public meetings this year. We held 3 of them. They were separated out by departments. So we had Public Works at one meeting and Utilities. The next meeting was Fire and Police. And the third meeting was Community Development, Museum, Library, Sustainability, and the Main Street office. We also had the department heads, and Mr. Brown came to the Utilities and Public Works meeting so that individual project questions could be answered by the department head at the public meeting. We also handed out my business card and information so that if members of the public had new projects that they would like to see included, they could contact me and I could help them with the form. Last year's projects were reviewed. Mr. Brown, especially at the Public Works and Utilities meeting, was able to give detailed information about which projects had been completed off of last year's list and which projects would be included in this year's list. It was a little disappointing. The turnout was actually lower this year than last year of the public. So if anybody has suggestions for what they would like to see at the public meetings next year, they may contact me at the Community Development Office. We're more than willing. I know that Councilor Amon Smith sent out quite a bit of email, and she attended the meetings also. The resulting list that you have in front of you is a combination of new projects from departments, the remaining projects off the 2015 to 2019 list that weren't completed and are still relevant, and then new projects as the public saw fit. So if anybody has any questions about next year, also Mayor Moronis also was inquiring. This is a living document, so once we submit it to the state on September 4th, I believe it is, they can edit the wording. It's very detailed the way they like it to be. We can also change the order. It is a living document. So what you're approving tonight is the town's participation in a highly recommended project by the state, but it can be edited at any time.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And just for clarification as to that question, we were looking at, we don't want to put ourselves in a position of using language that may hinder grant writers' ability to secure grants and do anything that's contrary to what we want to see done. And I was pleased to find out that this is much more flexible, very flexible. We're approving this, as an idea, as a working living document, and I think that brings great flexibility. And on another note, I've received a lot of comments that the new meeting formats were very much improved, even if they were less attended. Not that they're perfect, because nothing we do is perfect. We just always need to keep working towards a better system. But I did get a lot of favorable feedback from the public meetings this year. Any questions? Councilor Bedison.
Thank you, Mayor. This process, developing the ICIB and its flexible nature, is really critical to us, because we often get asked if the project that we're trying to seek funding for at the state level through our legislators, whether or not it's on the ICIP. So I'm pleased to see many things that are on here, including, as was noted by Nancy Gordon, the Historic Waterworks Rehab Phase 1, and as we had discussed during the budgeting process, the Municipal Court Security System. So that and everything from upgrades the swimming pool to the wastewater treatment plant, belt to filter press, a very important thing. I think that sometimes folks, when they look at something like this, don't realize that all of these, some of them are very large projects, some of them are very small projects in terms of the funding, but they're all critical to the quality of life we have in our community and ensuring that our infrastructure meets the needs of our citizens. So, thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions or comments?
Short comment, please.
Councilor Amon Smith?
Just a short comment. I too want to echo how much I have learned coming to these meetings, the ICIP meetings. I am going to next year beg more people to go It was just 3 days after the meeting on the community planning that someone emailed me and wanted to know what was going to go on with the swimming pool. Well, you could have asked there. Just to illustrate what an enormous geek I am, I never knew that infrastructure capital improvement plan would thrill me as much as this does.
Any other question? One more comment, and just to clarify, we talked about that it is a living document and a lot of flexibility. You mentioned that we could actually, after this process, we can add to it, and if so, is there any burden on having to take anything off?
They haven't limited the number of projects we could have at this point, but it does have to be mailed and delivered to Santa Fe by September 4th. So the window is closing really for new projects, but I'm available all year for people that would like to work on a new project. After the state receives it on September 4th, they are the ones that can really say, we want this to be moved, we want this to be edited. What we need to submit really needs to be in place by September 4th.
Yes, and as well as, if an emergency comes up and there's a project that we never really thought about, DFA has in the past allowed us to add them to the list. So that way it is on the ICIP so that we can work on emergency fund. We've never really had to do that, but I know of entities that have had to add it to the ICIP just to make sure that they were meeting all the rules and guidelines of DFA, so they've been able to do those types of things when it was necessary.
Okay. Does anyone in the public have any comment on the process or this list as it is? Any further questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Amundson.
I move to approve resolution number 2014-20, a resolution adopting the 2016-2020 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, otherwise known as ICIP.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
We have a motion and a second for approval of resolution number 2014-20, a resolution adopting the 2016 to 2020 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, ICIP. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second as read. Roll call.
Councilor Madison? Aye. Councilor Amon Smith? Aye. Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Cano?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor, I just wanted to thank Jamie. She did an excellent job coordinating this between all the department heads and the public and myself. She did an excellent job with this project, so I just wanted to thank her.
All the improvements is due to that move. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution number 2014-21, authorizing the execution and delivery of local government planning grant agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority, and the town of Silver City, the grantee, in the amount of $50,000, evidencing an obligation of the grantee to utilize the grant amount solely for the purpose of financing the cost of a water conservation plan.
Mayor,
Mr. Brown?
This gets back to one of Councilor Bedison's comments earlier about the grant processes from the state of New Mexico. This is actually a grant that that was authorized by the New Mexico Finance Authority to develop the water conservation plan that was completed a year ago. At the time that we applied for it, we were given permission and to move forward with the project. We've got all the email back and forth where they told us we didn't need a grant agreement. Actually, in previous years, we didn't need a grant agreement. They just reimbursed us once the project was completed. But again, getting back to the changes, here we are applying for a grant that we've already spent and done and a year later. But they're requiring us to go through this whole process so we can finally get reimbursed.
Councilor Bedison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, just to clarify, Mr. Brown, we've been carrying a $50,000 kind of hole in our budget because the grant, they had said that we didn't need a grant agreement and now have decided that we do need one.
Yes.
Yes. I just want to make sure everybody knows that we've been carrying this. We've used the money. We actually, I think, what did I say, it was August, September of last year, approved this water conservation plan.
Yeah, actually we had a little bit of problems getting the plan because it's reviewed by the Environment Department, and we had to do some follow-up work and justifications and everything with the Environment Department. They approved it and passed it on and sent it to Finance Authority to reimburse us, and then a couple months later they call us back, we need to do a grant agreement. And so here we are. But everything else has been approved. So
in a row anyways. Any other questions? Councilor Bedison?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution number 2014-21, authorizing the execution and delivery of a local government planning grant agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority, and the town of Silver City, the grantee, in the amount of $50,000, evidencing an obligation of the grantee to utilize the grant amount solely for the purpose of financing the cost of a water conservation plan, and solely in the manner described in the grant agreement, certifying that the grant amount, together with other funds available to the grantee, is sufficient to complete the project, approving the form and other details concerning the grant agreement, ratifying actions heretofore taken, repealing all action inconsistent with this resolution, and authorizing the taking of other actions in connection with the execution and delivery of the grant agreement.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion as stated.
We have a motion, a second, as read into the record. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
We have a motion, a second, as read into the record. Roll call.
Councilor Bedison?
Aye.
Councilor Amon Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Kano?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution number 2014-22, participation in a local government road fund program administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Mr. Brown?
Madam Council, this is a resolution authorizing the town to enter into an agreement with the DOT for the co-op grant funds. The town was awarded $80,943. 75% of it is grant, 25% is match. So we would be getting $60,707 in grant funds. We would have to match $20,236,000. The project is chip seal and fog seal on Blackhawk, Kane, Half Moon Circle, Swan Street, Little Walnut, Trail Ridge Road, and that's what this project is for. We had originally asked for $112,000, but we only ended up with $80,000. This project wouldn't be constructed until the summer of next year, so the match would actually come out of not this budget that we just sent up to DFA, but the following budget. So we have a long time to actually budget the match, as well as probably even come up with the additional funds that Peter was looking to get a complete project.
Any questions? Councilor Bettison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Brown, if I remember correctly, and please tell me if I'm wrong, the fog seal is better than the chip seal, correct?
It's part of, it's the chip seal, basically what it is they go and they lay down the oil, and then they bring they lay down the chips, and then it soaks into the oil. And then you come after and do a fog seal, and that's what makes it look dark, like a dark blacker. But what it does, it bonds the entire road better, so you get a better quality road.
Right, so that's why we're moving towards adding the fog seal to these, so that we have better quality roads that last longer.
That last longer, yes.
Rather than just plain chip sealing that we've done for quite some time. I just want to make sure folks know that. Thank you for clarifying. Just want to make sure everybody understands that this is actually a better deal. It's not just straight out chip sealing, but has the accompanying fog seal to it to ensure a better road for the better bang for the money.
Any other questions? I entertain a motion.
I can do this one. Yeah.
Councilor Amos Smith.
I move to approve resolution number 2014-21. Oops, did I take that back? I was on the wrong one. I move to approve resolution number 2014-22, participation in the local government road fund program administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion stated.
We have a motion and a second for approval of resolution number 2014-22, participation in a local government road fund program administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
We have a motion and a second for approval of resolution number 2014-22, participation in the local government road fund program administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Roll call.
Councilor Bettison?
Aye.
Councilor Amos Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Kano?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of notice of intent ordinance number 1232, an ordinance approving the execution of a memorandum of understanding, the effect of which creates a long-term lease of the Silco Theater to the Corporation for Downtown Development, doing business as Silver City Main Street.
Mayor and Council, this is the first reading the NOI for the ordinance to authorize us to enter into the long-term lease with Main Street for the Silco Theater. You have an attached preliminary draft agreement. There are some blanks there that we will hammer out over the next month before we bring the final to you. And that would be those things that we fill in will be consistent with paying back of any debt or anything that we will be getting ourselves into. And so, as promised at the last council meeting, we wanted to get this here so that hopefully when we do the loan agreement, we have the lease agreement for you at the same time.
Any questions, comments? Councilor Bettison?
Thank you, Mayor. I know that according to the what we have before us too, the NOI, under the term it does state, and I think it's important to be noted for the public, that this new long-term lease shall supersede the short-term lease that we currently have in place with between the town and Silver City Main Street, or the Corporation for Downtown Economic Improvement. But that we do currently have a lease in place, short-term lease in place. So this is because of we're looking to refinance and increase the amount of loan.
Extend the term of that loan.
And add additional funds. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'll make a quick comment. This lease, what it does is it's put in place so that the local Main Street project actually meets the debt obligation, so that even though the town has entered into a debt obligation, the town is not paying for it out of its current gross receipts tax setup. It's being met by this rental agreement. So even though it is very important for the town to partner with Main Street and to see this project move forward, Lord knows going a year and a half, nearly 2 years without a theater is almost not acceptable. But it's, in light of the economic situation, it's not practical for the town to actually pay for this. But it's great that we have a partnership with Main Street and thinking outside the box. The town can utilize its ability to leverage, and the Main Street project can actually help make that debt meet that debt service, so that our citizens actually aren't out of gross receipts tax in order to see this great public and arts and cultural project materialize. Mr. Brown?
The lease also does reinforce the Main Street's requirement to finish the upgrades of the theater, as well as the economic development plan that was approved earlier. It also does allow for us to apply for grants through the state Main Street program and apply them directly to that without there being the anti-donation issues and all that type of thing. So I think we've covered all of our bases on being able to acquire all the different types of funding and apply it and get that project moving.
Absolutely.
Keep it moving.
It's been though a slow process, it's been a great way that even in tight economic times that the town is trying to meet some of our cultural shortcomings, i.e. not having a theater. So we're doing it in a very fiscally responsible and conservative manner, and yet still trying to meet the needs of the citizens, hopefully in the long run. Any further questions?
No, sir. No, sir.
Can I entertain a motion? Councilor Ray, it's on.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I move to approve NOI ordinance number 1232, an ordinance approving the execution of a memorandum of understanding, the effect of which creates a long-term lease of the Silco Theater to the Corporation for Downtown Development, DBA Silver City, Main Street.
Second that.
We have a motion, a second, for approval of notice of intent ordinance number 1232, an ordinance approving the execution of a memorandum of understanding, the effect of which creates a long-term lease of the Silco Theater to the Corporation for Downtown Development, doing business as Silver City, Main Street. Any further discussion?
No, sir. No, sir.
We have a motion, a second, as read. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is disapproval of notice of intent number 1233, an ordinance amending Chapter 52 Utilities, Article 3, Water and Sewer Rates and Charges, Section 52-94, Water Deposit, and Section 52-100, Bill of Illegally Used Services of the Town of Silver City Municipal Code. Mr. Brown?
Oh, sorry. Mayor and Council, at the last council meeting, I explained to you the need for us to raise the deposit. The way the deposit works is once you come in, you pay, right now, you pay $100. And if you own the home, if it's your home, then after a year of good credit paying on time, the deposit is applied to your water bill. So you get credit for it. In the case of a renter, we keep the deposit until the final bill. When they move out, the $100 is applied to their final bill. So the water deposit has been $100 for, I don't know how long. It's been a long time. Approximately 8 years ago, we did change it we did make the change where renters did not get their deposit back until the final bill. And the reason is because renters usually are those individuals that are more apt to skip out on paying their final bill. And being so as that usually by the time we turn your water off, there's many times when people will move out of a rental and won't come in and turn their water off. And so we bill them this month, we bill them next month, then on the 15th of the next month, we go out to shut their water off. Well, they weren't there. So now they've got a bill outstanding that the remaining users are eating up, basically, are responsible for. And so being that the average bill is around $69 total, and I'm not just talking about water, I'm talking about water, sewer, wastewater, and sanitation. So what we would like to do is raise it to $200 so that way, when that does happen, a renter especially, the town is able to recover that lost revenue. And the burden isn't placed on the remaining users of the system who have to cover bad debt. Also, there was and I guess I'm going to let Mr. Scavron talk about the other section that was changed that we talked about.
Right. On occasion, there have been people who have deliberately bypassed the meter and stolen water. And I've been involved in some of those cases. And it seems like the resolution has always been, okay, we'll estimate how much water you've taken, and you'll pay 3 times that amount. And perhaps you will not be prosecuted. So it's kind of a civil settlement, opening up alternatives for the town in case there is a situation where somebody does bypass the meter. Now, if they do it willfully, then this is not the only remedy. The other additional remedy is to cite them for theft of services or theft of water, and they would be liable for the penalty, which is $500 per day plus and 90 days in jail. It's very rare that the jail time is ever attached to any of these kinds of violations, but that's what the state law permits. So rather than this is also a disincentive for people to think that they're going to end up coming out ahead if they steal water for a couple of years and then have to pay a fine of $500 or less, and still end up having pretty much making out like a bandit on the water. So this is the motivation is on past situations when we have negotiated settlements that the 300% seems to be what seems to be fair, and I believe that it will set a disincentive for for people to steal water from the town.
Thank you. You know, I actually I'm sponsoring this notice of intent, and I actually did so, you know, under the fact that there is some controversy here, but there's some very important elements. Some of the controversy is we seem to be raising some fees, and water may be getting a little bit more expensive in our community, and it can become troubling, especially for a population with a number of low-income individuals. But on the flip side of this, those low-income individuals are not only residents and constituents, but they're owners of our town assets. And this is, as an enterprise fund such as this that serves so many people outside our city limits, we have to protect our constituents of all economic levels, and those low-income individuals are harmed financially by people getting away with bypassing our meters, taking theft, not paying bills. That has a very big long-term ramification to our economic disadvantaged individuals. So sometimes we have to pay a little bit extra now in order to actually secure a better financial future. And that's something that's very important, and I wanted to make sure that I was taking a lead in this so that because it's easy to walk away and simply say we can't start adding these fees. The other part of it is we wanted to make sure that we weren't arbitrarily raising fees on our citizens that were substantially out of line with the rest of the communities in New Mexico or even across the nation. And the reality is they're not going to find rates any better or security deposits any cheaper across the country. We are still taking care of our low-income individuals, and it is very troubling that this community has actually been so in favor of keeping rates down that we've been through our gross receipts tax, through every resident's pocketbook, we've been subsidizing this fund, so we've been benefiting all the businesses who are making money, a lot of your high net worth individuals, all those residents outside our borders who have been who use our system. We've been charging them an arbitrarily low rate at the expense of our low-income residents, and I want to see that corrected. Any questions or comments?
One comment, sir.
Councilor Raymond Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that discourse. What I want to say is that the concept of fairness is never an absolute. It's always in relationship. And usually when you can look across a variety of municipalities and see how those municipalities handle deposits and see that ours are extremely low, it's an indication that we are unfairly low.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Cano?
I move to approve the Notice of Intent Ordinance Number 1233, an ordinance amending Chapter 52, Utilities, Article 3, Water and Sewer Rates and Charges, Section 52-94A, Water Deposit, and Section 52-100, Bill for Legally Used Services of the Town of Silver City Municipal Code.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second, for approval of Notice of Intent Ordinance Number 1233, an ordinance amending Chapter 52 Utilities, Article 3, Water and Sewer Rates and Charges, Section 52-94, Water Deposit, and Section 52-100, Bill for Illegally Used Services of the Town of Silver City Municipal Code. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion, a second, as read. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of bid number 13/14-7, Vista de Plata Subdivision Phase 1B and sewer and water extensions.
Mayor and Council, we received two bids for this project, one from Southwest Concrete and Paving and the other from Century Club Construction out of Albuquerque. It's staff's recommendation to award the bid and additive alternate to Southwest Concrete and Paving for a total amount of $358,291.60 plus gross receipts taxes. The funding for this project is coming from a Colonias grant as well as remaining MFA funds, so no town funds will be used for the project. Well, actually, I take that back a little bit. We will be paying for some of the pipe for the water line. So there is just a little bit of funds that we are using to pay for. And those are budgeted for.
Very quickly, just to clarify your comment, the document doesn't illustrate the gross receipts, but we are the recommendation is to take this bid and add the gross receipts tax to it, correct?
Yes. We have to pay gross receipts taxes on construction.
So we'll need to make sure that we put that in the motion. Any questions for Mr. Brown?
No, sir.
I will entertain a motion. Councilor Cano?
I move to approve bid number 14-7 Vista de Plata subdivision phase 1B and sewer and water extensions. And did you say I need to add something to it?
You have to say the name. Please list the name of the vendor, the amount that we're awarding, plus gross receipts tax.
So the bid is number 13/14-7 Vista de Plata phase 1B and sewer water extension, Southwest Concrete and Paving, base bid $208,330. No, you said we just want the last one. Okay. Total without gross receipts tax, $358,291.60. Plus gross receipts tax.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second for approval of bid number 13/14-7 Vista de Plata subdivision phase 1B and sewer and water extensions per staff recommendation to to Southwest Concrete and Paving in the amount of $358,291.60 plus the related gross receipts tax. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
We have a motion second as read. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is disapproval of request for proposal 13/14-2P municipal refueling station. Mr. Brown?
Mayor and Council, you have in front of you a recommendation from the evaluation committee to make the award of the refueling station to Cure Civil Corp. But after reviewing their recommendation and how they ended up doing the evaluation, I found that per procurement, you can go back and ask clarifying questions to the submittals to the companies, and there's a lot of assumptions that were made as far as D&H pump, and because the scoring was so close, it was only 2 points. It's actually my recommendation that we remand this back to the evaluation committee to call the companies to get some further clarification so they can make a better evaluation, as well as to call their references, which they did not do. I just would much rather make a recommendation on factual information rather than assumptions.
Any further questions or comments?
No, sir.
Councilor Bedison?
Mr. Mayor, I move to remand back to the committee, evaluation committee, for further clarification, proposal number 13/14-2P municipal refueling station.
Yes, and it should be ready for the next council meeting, even though it's a shorter time period. They don't have very much work that they need to do. They just need to give them some calls and call the references.
Do we have a second?
No. I'll second that as stated.
We have a motion and a second to remand back to the Evaluation Committee request for proposal number 13-/14-2P Municipal Refueling Station. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
We have a motion to remand back to the Evaluation Committee the request of proposal number 13/14-2P Municipal Refueling Station. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, approval, disapproval of endorsing Councilor Bedison's candidacy for the position of Treasurer of the New Mexico Municipal League Board of Directors. Councilor Bedison.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned during council comments, I currently serve on the board. It's my second term as a board director at large of the Municipal League. And this year, I hope to be a candidate for the position of treasurer on the executive committee. I think it's important for us to ensure the executive committee is broadly covers the state. Currently, we have one member from the South over who's currently the vice president. He'll be moving into the president-elect position, and he's in the village of Cloudcroft. Then we have our current president, Gloria, I forgot her last name, I can't believe it, Chavez, from the village of Tijeras in the central part, and the remainder of the executive committee is all in the extreme north, Eagle Nest, Red River, things like that. So while I sit on the board currently and represent a broad range of constituencies and fairly vocally Silver City and smaller communities, I'd like to see us have someone on the executive committee so that that voice can be heard in executive committee meetings.
Mayor and Council, I'd just like to say that having served on the board myself, there is a great benefit of being on the executive committee because they do make a lot of decisions independently of the entire board. So I mean, this would give us a much bigger voice in the decision making at the board level.
Thank you. And if I could say, I think it's critical at this time with the Hold Harmless, the communities that currently exist on the board and the executive board, not one of them are in the position that we're in. They're not one of the 12 communities that will lose funding, despite everything that the HB House Bill 641 had been placed in it for us to be able to apparently recover the loss of the Hold Harmless, but not one of those communities. They're all under 10,000, so they actually get small communities assistance funding. So it would be a good thing, I think, and I seek your endorsement so that I can put in my papers, and part of that would be an endorsement of the council because the minutes are submitted along with the result of the vote.
Just a quick comment. I concur with what Mr. Brown and Councilor Bedison mentioned. You know, the Southwest has historically been underrepresented in so many facets of state governance, and as it was mentioned, the North dominates, and so many times what's good for the North isn't necessarily good for us, but it's what we live with because it was good for them. And it is very important, and actually I'm very happy and proud that Councilor Bedison actually puts herself into that position of running for this and being in a good position to get it. Any further comments? Can I entertain a motion? Councilor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve of endorsing Councilor Bedison's candidacy for the position of treasurer at the New Mexico Municipal League Board of Directors.
I second that motion as stated.
We have a motion and a second for approval of endorsing Councilor Bedison's candidacy for the position of Treasurer of the New Mexico Municipal League Board of Directors. Any further discussion?
Can I vote? Mr. Mayor, I do have a question.
Councilor Bedison.
Councilor Scavron, should I abstain from voting? It's a no vote if you abstain. Or recuse myself.
Vote for yourself.
I see no issue with you voting.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second for approval of endorsing Councilor Bedison's candidacy for the position of Treasurer of the New Mexico Municipal League Board of Directors. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Bedison.
I move for adjournment.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second quite early
Yes.
to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.